the big thing to me is, the fact that they split the lawsuit into the two cases.
Right.
And it's so funny. I don't know. In our industry, I feel like there's very little negative said about Visa and MasterCard, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like among ISOs. A lot of times I feel like I'm kind of out on a desert island.
Almost like they're afraid to say anything negative about them.
I'm not afraid at all to say anything negative about them. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think this lawsuit is frankly, the outcome of this lawsuit is ridiculous, because basically what the lawsuit says is that these two companies colluded together in violation of antitrust laws and caused $6.2 billion or something in damages.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, closer to $5 billion, really, when you take the two sides.
The other two sides, right.
Right.
So they're saying they caused billions of dollars in damages, and this lawsuit says, and let's not change anything about what you're doing.
Right. Now, what's wrong with that picture?
Either they caused the damage or they didn't.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of back in the, in the 70s and the 80s when they broke up AT&T.
Right.
Right? I mean, yeah, that was a lot of chaos, but
Right.
it was a definitive step.
Right. Right.
And admittedly that was a Justice Department thing, but the Justice Department has been on the card cases too.
Sure. And to me too, when you zoom out, and I think a lot of people in the industry look at it and say, yeah, but Visa and MasterCard have done so much for the industry, and I agree with that.
Sure they have.
But at the same time, you have to have a level playing field. And so when you look at the world economy and look at payments in other countries, right? Every single other major developed country has regulated.
Yes.
Now, I don't want the regulation. I'm a free market capitalist. I don't want that because what happens is they start to regulate Visa and MasterCard. Well, then what happens next? They start to regulate ISOs and on down the line. And so I'm not a fan of that. But at the same time, you have to look at these other countries where Visa and MasterCard still operate profitably, where the issuing banks still operate profitably. And what is the interchange there? 0.3%, 0.2%, 0.6%. The averages by country at Australia, the UK,
right?
It's
orders of magnitude
lower.
Less. And the thing is what strikes me about this environment is that because we don't have, and it doesn't need to be government regulation. It could be self-regulation of some sort.
Well, right, of course. Sure.
But because we don't have that, you have ongoing lawsuits, like what was it, and ongoing little battles between major, what was it, a year ago or so when Walmart stopped taking Visa in its Canadian stores? Right. A few months ago, Kroger stopped taking them in some of its California stores.
Yep.
How can that be conducive for the industry?
Right, it's not. And I have a story coming out on ccsalespro.com about now Target and some of the other major retailers are coming out and saying one of the reasons they're rejecting the settlement is because of the accept all cards part. Right. And they're saying we want to be able to reject certain rewards cards.
Sure.
And so I think the problem right now is you have this system where it's not regulated.
Right.
But it's not a free market either.
No, it's not.
Because a free market is where people can say no to something. And right now there's these mega companies that really are colluding together to set interchange.
Right.
And the people who are involved with setting interchange are not the people who are involved with paying interchange.
Exactly. And
that's where you have a problem.
And there's no input at all. And, it's not a supply and demand type of thing.
Right.
And if nothing else, when Visa and MasterCard started adjusting all the interchange to reflect these various rewards cards.
Right.
That became it suddenly became impossible.
Right.
For merchants to control their costs.
It did.
And I don't know about you, but I was thinking about this the other day. I have maybe 3 credit cards and 2 debit cards, right?
Right.
They all have rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of the rewards.
Right.
I mean,
and you know what you're getting.
I don't even know what I'm getting.
Right.
I mean, except for the few, like Discover that lets me put my money towards my balance.
Sure.
And I think I have another one. All those others, about a week ago, I thought, oh, look at this. I'm on the gold rewards thing for my debit card. What does that give me?
Right.
And so I go in and I look and I went, nothing.
Right.
I mean, really nothing.
Yeah. And, to me, here's my thought. Because, again, I think when you boil it all down, it's like, okay, so how should it be? Like, what should be different? One regulation I could get on board with would be, I do believe that just like, when you go to buy a car, there are regulations that say you have to know what the price of the vehicle is.
Right.
You go to buy a house.
Right.
When you get a mortgage, you have to know what your total payoff amount is, right?
Right, exactly.
I believe that when somebody processes a card at a point of sale, when the network sends back the authorization code, I believe they should have to send back the base interchange rate with it.
That's an excellent idea.
Right?
That's an excellent idea.
And then I believe merchants should be allowed to do whatever they want with that information.
Mm-hmm.
You want to accept the card? You want to not accept the card? You want to add a service fee? You want to add a surcharge? You want to do a cash discount?
Right.
You want to just eat it. You do whatever you want.
But
that's a free market.
Right. And at least there they know what their cost of doing business is.
Right.
Right now, a merchant accepts a card and he has no idea what that's going to cost until that bill comes in at the end of the month.
In a lot of situations, electronic payments, big transactions, their margins may only be 5%.
Right.
And they have no idea if they're accepting a card that's got a 0.5%.
Or 3.5%.
Right, and they have no idea.
None.
That's just not right. I think there has to be for free markets to work. There has to be two things. There has to be transparency of information, and there has to be freedom to make decisions.
Right.
And right now we don't have either.
We don't have either. And I really do think that the honor all cards rule is sort of the epitome of that.
It is. Absolutely it is.
Because wait a minute. What if I don't want to accept a card that's going to cost me 3.5%? I have to take it anyway because I take Visa. That just doesn't sound
And by the
right.
way, I could get on board with it a lot better if they weren't giving breaks to the big companies.
And that's my other point.
If interchange was actually interchange, I could get on board with it a little easier. I still think it's ridiculous.
Right.
But I could get on board with it a little better. But the small merchants are paying 2, 3, 4 times what the larger merchants are paying.
Isn't that the real irony of the situation that the companies like Kroger and Walmart...
Right. They're the ones raising a fuss.
They're the ones raising the fuss, and they're the ones that are paying
the lowest.
The lowest.
Right. And I think a lot of people in our industry just don't realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until 2 or 3 years ago where I was like, I thought interchange was interchange.
Yeah,
Nope.
When I found that out several years ago when a friend of mine had worked with Walmart, and he's like, "Oh, I helped them negotiate that contract."
Right.
They pay less.
They're dealing direct, and they're getting a better deal. So to me, it's not a free market anymore. I would love to see them get the other lawsuit settled. That's the one that matters.
That's the one that really matters.
The financial one, whatever. I don't care. And I don't blame them for rejecting the merchants for rejecting it. I don't think it's going to come to fruition. You got to get the other one, which is let's change these rules to make it more of a free market system.
Right. And they say they're working on that, but I find that I would think it would.
They're working on delaying it.
That's exactly it. To see that settled would be.
Yeah.
I don't see that being settled out of court. That's going to have to be legally, settled by a judge.
Well, we're going to have to keep tabs on this and keep updating everybody on the podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Big development for sure, right?
For sure.
Awesome.
Okay.